All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Bhaskar from Workato. It's really great that you could join us for this event. And, it's a pleasure to see a lot of familiar faces, folks who have attended our events in the past. So welcome again. Today, we have a very exciting panel, and I'm really excited about the folks who have come all the way to do this panel. Firstly, thanks, Hans, for allowing us and working with us to put this panel together. Another shout out to a person called Hannah, who's not here, Hannah from Victor Ops. And means without Hans and Hannah from Victor Ops, I don't think we could have even put this panel together. So kudos to them and thanks to them. And then we have a great panel, folks from Coupa, folks from Victor Ops, leaders from IT and Prism. We have Christian, who will moderate the panel from Precipio Consulting, works a lot with IT Ops. We have folks from Splunk, Tom here, who will be participating in the panel. So I'll take a few minutes. I promise I'll just take a few minutes and get out of your way because I know you don't want to hear me. You want to hear the experts talk about this. So at Workato, there are a few things that I wanted to talk about, mainly because there are a few events that we do. And if you're interested in those events, feel free to sign up. So there are a few things that we do on a very regular basis. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we do an event on a topic called intelligent automation. What I mean by intelligent automation is a modern integration and workflow automation that leverages AI and bots so that you can maximize what you can do across your enterprise. Coupa will be talking as to how they use it for IT operations, and then we'll have a panel talking very specifically as to how you can use AI, bots, and automation in the field of IT ops. We do these type of events every 4 to 6 weeks, typically at a customer site. And you're more than welcome. We would love to see you participate in more of them. Then we do something called Work Jam. Work Jam is if you really want to get your hands on to the particular product of Workato, where you come in with a use case in mind. Say, for example, you want to build certain integration or some automation. You come to Work Jam. It's a 2 to 3 hour event. We have experts available where you can sit with them. The entire premise is in those 2 to 3 hours, you'll actually get your integration built out. There's no pressure to buy. There is no pressure that you need to become a Workato customer. It's just showing the tool that you can actually build out integrations, whatever use case be, in a matter of 2 to 3 hours. That's Work Jam. And we'll have one Work Jam on the 28th following this in Redwood City. Feel free to join us and we'll send you some info. And then finally, this is a new thing that we'll be starting. It's a no-code hackathon. What I mean by that is just like hackathon, other hackathons, but most of the hackathons, you'll have to be a developer to participate. We want to open it up so that you don't need to be a developer. You can come use the Workato platform to do a hackathon. And yes, there'll be cash prizes, all that stuff. There'll be competition. And we'll be doing this on a quarterly basis as well. So some of the events that are coming up, in case you want to sign up, you can see here, the Work Jam that is coming up in Redwood City. And then we have a webinar around IT ops and intelligent automation, where we'll talk about all the use cases that we see across our customers and give you a flavor so that you can see if those are applicable in your case as well. The no-code hackathon, the first one that we are going to do will be at Slack. And it will be in Slack in San Francisco around building out a bot or Slack workflows and how you can leverage that. The Slack team themselves will be participating as well. And come in and let's have some fun for the evening, starting at 5 o'clock to going all the way till 8:30 with prizes, etc. And then finally, we'll have another intelligent automation event, which will be focused around support, whether it be customer support or IT help desk or internal support, around support operations, and that will be held at Zendesk in April. Then, in order to keep up with all the various events that we do, here, go to this page, get.workato.com/meetup, join our meetup, and we'll be posting all the various events that we do so that you can participate there. So with that, I'll actually get out of the way and hand it over to Hans.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Hopefully everybody's had something to eat, something to drink, and is settled in. My name is Hans Gustafsson. I'm a senior director within the cloud operations team here at Coupa Software. I'm going to wait for my partner Alok here to get the presentation up. Within the site reliability engineering team, I want to share a little bit about how we think about what we do. And we have a mission as well as some values that really drive how we think and behave and how we operate in the team. And I'm going to be doing a live demo as well. So this is just a precursor to that, right? I think if you hit the play. And we also have a webcast that's taking place in Singapore right now. So we have a group that's watching us there as well. You can go to the next slide for me. Great. So one of the things, we have a mission within the cloud operations team. We want to deliver a true cloud-based software as a service that is fast, reliable, secure, and is in a cost-efficient manner. And we also have 3 core values at Coupa, and these are really at the heart of what we do. Every day we think about these values when we make our decisions and take action, and those ensure customer success. We're working side by side with our customers to make sure that we're making the right decisions and that they're successful at what they're doing. We also focus on results. So we're biased on action within the company. We want to make sure that we have targets and we're achieving those. And then we strive for excellence. So we want to make sure that we're professional, transparent, we're working as partners and peers within the company. And the mission and the value really helps us, again, as we drive and make decisions. Go to the next slide. So what is Coupa software? We're a business, we're a cloud platform for business spend management, right? We deliver what we call value as a service to our customers that help them bring spend under management and then achieve cost savings and drive profitability. And today we have 600 plus customers that are interacting with over 200 million suppliers globally, 2 million suppliers globally through a core set of products that we have. And we've realized to date over $360 billion of spend that's been managed through our system. And that's resulted in over $20 billion in savings, real savings for our customers, which is significant. So with this comes scale, right? So what does that mean to operate that many customers in that type of environment? So we operate in multiple clouds. Today we're in 6 regions across the globe, in North America, Europe, and the Asia Pac region. We operate at a 99.99% uptime. And we have over 20 million plus transactions processed through our platform on a daily basis, right? In terms of infrastructure, we have tens of thousands of cores, CPU cores, and we have close to a petabyte of storage that we're managing. And to operate that, we have 4 locations where we have the SRE staff. So in North America, we have the San Mateo location, as well as the location in Reno, Nevada. And then we have Dublin, Ireland, as well as Pune, India. And we operate in a follow the sun model. Can you move that forward for me? Thank you. So our core responsibilities within the SRE team are really around traditional availability, performance, monitoring, delivering our service, doing capacity planning, and then emergency response, incident response. And all of that, we think about it in a software engineering capacity. So traditionally, organizations perhaps didn't think of infrastructure as code. We treat all of our code as infrastructure, right? We write code to deploy it, manage it, configure it, and operate it. So when we talk about the platform and the systems that we use within the cloud, it's all managed through code. And we use typical or standards software lifecycle development processes. So we use agile methodologies to actually test deploy, and build. We have scrums and sprints that we use to manage the resources to deliver the code, and we're aligned with the product development cycle, right? So we're very closely aligned to our product team, delivering dependencies for them at the same cadence that they need to have that. But there's a dilemma that we have with all the growth, right? We see our infrastructure has been doubling very quickly, right? Our staff doesn't grow to match that growth. So we have to do things smarter, more efficiently within the organization, right? So we see increased data and events to manage, more alerts, more transactions that are being processed. Our platform's growing, right? So we're introducing complexity, right? Additional new microservices are being introduced, new technology stacks are being introduced. And we're also have more users coming onto the platform that we need to make sure are happy and are using our service. So this demand can quickly outpace the capability that the team has. And we are constantly looking at how we can be more efficient, more effective in delivering the service and meeting the demands of the customer and our business. So there's a lot of traditional tools that we have in our toolkit that we use on a day-to-day basis. And these shouldn't be uncommon to people. But it also is a little bit of a double-edged sword for us. A lot of these are complex. If somebody comes into the team, how do we use these most efficiently so that we can actually get the most value out of those tool sets? So let me go to the next slide. And so for us, it's really about integrating these tools to get more value out of them. So all of the tools, all the processes they have APIs and webhooks that we can take advantage of to help us automate a lot of the mundane, more manual tasks that are taking place in the environment. So that way the engineers can focus on more meaningful tasks within the organization. And our process is essentially to start simple and then iterate. So find use cases that are easy for us to achieve and then build upon those. Go to the next slide. So what I want to take you through is a use case of what we did for our incident management here at Coupa. So we have some principles, some objectives that we want to accomplish with our incident management, as well as goals. So some of the basic objectives, we want to know when there's an issue before our customers do, right? We don't want our customers to see those problems. And we want to be able to respond very quickly and address the issue. And then probably one of the biggest challenges is making sure that we're doing this consistently across all of the regions that we have our staff and our team. And then making sure everybody understands what they're responsible for doing in that capacity. So with that in mind, about this last summer, we set out to actually address some of these challenges that we were seeing in our organization and with incident management. And so we wanted to eliminate a lot of the manual processes. Our engineers were spending a lot of time between the different tools that we had. So how could we eliminate that so that the engineers are focused predominantly on troubleshooting and fixing the issue quickly, right? Resolving the problem for the customer quickly and not spending time moving between the different tools and systems that we have. And we wanted to set out to integrate the tools that we had in the system so that they worked more effectively and get the consistency across the groups. And simplify all of this as well, right? Simplify the interactions for the team. And last, we want to make sure our customers and users are aware of the challenges that we were having, what the status is of the incidents that were taking place in the system. Go to the next slide. So at a high level, our philosophy is to be able to detect, again, quickly the incident, to be able to respond and investigate, escalate, get the right people engaged, and not have, not spend time on addressing the problem, and resolve it. And then afterwards, we want to make sure that we're learning from those so we don't repeat these issues again. But the one area we wanted to focus in on our incident management was really around the detection, the response, and the resolution. And so with that, we set out to create a workflow or states of an incident. Once an incident is detected, we wanted to identify it, right, move it through these states programmatically, and resolve it as quickly as possible. Let's move to the next slide. And so what we did was these are the tool sets that we have in place that we use. So on the far left, we have a number of tools that help us identify and monitor the environment. So Pingdom helps us look at the external availability of the site. We have other tools that we use to collect metrics, and we also have our logs that we're looking at and alerting on. And any of the events that come out of those get sent over to VictorOps. What we use VictorOps for is to evaluate that event, do some translation, add some additional data into the event, so that it could be processed accordingly. So for certain types of events, we would identify from certain systems, say this is more critical, and we would flag that. And then VictorOps, then we would take advantage of its webhook capability and send an output over to Workato. In Workato, we created a number of recipes that would then take those events and then go through and automatically create the JIRA ticket for the engineer, create the status dashboard event, create the HIP chat room that we use to communicate and work together, and then also pull information about our customers from Salesforce and send out notifications and help us walk through that entire process. So what I want to do is go through a demo, and Alok's going to help me here. So what we're going to do, let me get my, 1 second. Alok is going to trigger an incident for us. And I'm going to act as the primary engineer, and Alok is going to act as a secondary engineer. And when we have a major incident, we have an on-call schedule that's maintained inside VictorOps. That will notify the appropriate team. Once they acknowledge that incident, that'll then trigger a series of events that are going to happen within Workato. So he's actually just sending he's triggering an event just using the email integration, but it can come from any one of our tools, right? So from Pingdom, any one of our monitors, we integrate directly into VictorOps. Just for the sake of the demo, we're sending in an email incident. Did you sent the, okay. Okay, so I should get on my client here in a second. We'll wait. Alok, did you put the title in there? Yeah, somebody said I shouldn't do this live. Did you send the email? Go to the. Yep, that should work. Okay. Did it send out? What's that? No. No, it should be. It's Meetup demo. It has to be Meetup now. We'll give this another minute. No. Can you copy it off of the screen? Can you copy it from the document? Yeah, we probably should. Why don't we do this? Why don't we continue the panel, and then we'll come back and demonstrate this for you. Apologize for that. Thank you. That's what it was.
All right,
Thank you.
I think let's do that.
Yeah, that's probably the best idea.
All right. So let's switch to the panel. I would like to welcome our panel of experts. Christian, let's grab some chairs there. Christian is the managing partner for Precipio Consulting. Then we have Sanket from Coupa. Sanket is the VP of Infrastructure and Security and Senior Director of Cloud Ops. Srini is VP of IT at Prism. And Joni from VictorOps, VP of Product. And Joni, thanks for flying all the way from Boulder, Colorado, just for this event.
Second microphone, isn't there?
There's a second microphone.
Okay. All right, so just a reminder, we do have the Pigeonhole app for those that are in Singapore. So as you come up with questions, please put those through. And then towards the end of the panel, we'll take some questions from the audience. If you want, just hand it to somebody, pass it around.
Oh, really? Oh, I control this. Okay, thank you.
So actually, start with Sanket. Sanket, I'm gonna start with him in a moment. All right, so thanks everyone for coming out. Before I further introduce the panel, I want to introduce the audience. Quick show of hands. How many software developers we have out there? All right, about 10 software developers. How many folks in IT ops? Okay. How many executive types or directors? All right, good balance, huh? Yeah, who's a DevOps engineer out there? Okay, how about some site reliability engineers? All right, you guys get all that? Yeah, okay. All right, so thanks so much for the opportunity to chat and to lead this panel. I'm super excited about this panel. I have some very well-established professionals in the space that we're in. I've been doing the IT thing for close to 20 years, largely in IT operations and helping a lot of companies improve and optimize how they handle IT ops and how they handle technology and how they build technology. My takeaway over the past nearly 20 years, it's this digital transformation that we've been going through for about 30 years now is shouldered by a lot of people. And there's people behind all this technology, people that make all this happen. So congratulations to y'all for contributing to pretty amazing things. It's a unique time and place to be living in this world. So I'd like to take some time to talk about some of the topics we're going to cover. So there's this digital transformation that we've all been watching unfold and actually enjoying to a large extent. I want to talk about signal, noise, and fidelity, frameworks, and then bots and AI. So all that said, let's talk about our panelists. So Sanket Naik, he's a VP of Cloud Infrastructure and Security here at Coupa. Sanket, you enjoy travel and outdoor activities and camping with your girls. What's your favorite place to go camping?
I don't think I've picked one yet. So we haven't reached the point where we have run out of camping places here.
Okay.
So I think we'll circle back and figure out which our favorite is. I haven't hit any one twice yet.
Well, you're in the right part of the country.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
it's just, you're loaded
Best place
with
to
good
be in the world.
opportunities. That said, what gets you out of bed every day? What most excites you about the space that we're in right now?
No, I think you hit on it, right? So I think it's I think there's different periods of time, different eras when something is pretty exciting. And I think, as you mentioned, digital transformation, cloud, and all the technologies that cloud is enabling, whether it's artificial intelligence or machine learning. I think we have been in a very long a period of time now where cloud has not only reached maturity, but it's also starting to support other technologies that are evolving. I mean, for example, when I remember doing natural language processing when I was in grad school, and suddenly there's time now where machine learning and expert systems, which have popped ahead over different decades, are finally are democratized now and finding consumer adoption. So,
Awesome.
Very interesting.
Okay, great. If you can pass it down to Srini there. Srini Garlapati, VP of IT at Prism. You love sports?
I
Why?
do.
Why? What do you love about sports?
Well, I guess it's the excitement of not knowing who's going to win, I guess.
Okay. You're yourself an athlete?
I try to be.
Okay.
I mean, I try to play every sport possible. I haven't tried football yet. I only watched. But I play basketball. I'm a decent shooter, by the way. And I play racquetball with basket and all for I can remember, for 15, 20 years I've been doing racquetball.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. You can pass it back to Joni there.
Oh, Johnny.
Joni, yeah. So Joni comes to us from VictorOps, Vice President of Product. Quite the foodie, I see. What's your favorite restaurant in the Denver, Boulder area?
Oh my,
Tough question, right?
it's really tough.
Yeah.
Gosh, what category? I'll go with Frosca. Yeah, would you mind? Yeah. Frosca, fine dining, just the quality of service and the quality of food is so perfect.
Okay.
Like you all wanted to know that. So next time you're in Boulder, Colorado, check out Frosca.
Good, great plug. And if you can hand it over to Hans then.
Yeah.
Y'all met Hans, great presentation. Senior Director of Cloud Operations. You and I have the board sports in common. I don't think I've ever asked you, are you regular or goofy?
Regular.
Regular? I'm goofy. In more ways than one. Anyhow, so Hans, we've gotten to know each other a bit over the past 4 years. What motivates you?
I enjoy building and creating, and like solving challenges and problems.
Okay.
So having an environment where I can apply that and solve real problems is something that I enjoy.
Okay, awesome. Let's pass the mic down to Tom. Last but not least, Tom Chavez, product marketing leader for DevOps at Splunk. Tom's got a basketball team of kids and loves Disney. And I hope he will share another monitoring story about, was it the Japanese airport restrooms? I hope we'll come back to that. Maybe we'll come back to
Dubai
it.
airports, yes.
Yes. What's your big motivator?
Well, let's see. You mentioned my love of Disney, which crosses. I do have 5 kids, not quite a basketball team, but like I've got my wristband on here that if you're in a Disney park, this is collecting data about you, every purchase you make, everywhere you go in the park. I know where my kids are just by I can look them up, and I love big data. I came from a company that was doing big data before about customer analytics and the journey of a customer from omni-channel, whether mobile or web. But Disney wraps it all up in one big bundle from customer experience, website, mobile apps, et cetera. And so it's a passion.
Awesome. That's a good segue into just this digital transformation topic. 30 years into it or so, I remember 15, 20 years ago, people asked me, how do you keep up with this? Today, I don't know how we keep up with this. It's breakneck, and the past 10 years have been amazing, and I can only imagine what's coming in the next 5. Humans want everything now. We're making big strides to get people what they want then and there. But it puts some strain on folks. As we think about this digital transformation, we're doing everything we can to keep up and facilitate the next thing. I've got some interesting stats about it. Excuse me. So according to the IDC, back in January, just a month ago, 2018, they said that in 2018, $97 billion would account for, the US would account for $97 billion of spending, 60% of the worldwide spending of cloud, expected to be $277 billion by 2021. In 2016, Gartner predicted that by 2021, 20% of all activities, physical, financial, and healthcare, all that engagement we've managed by 7 digital companies. So the 7 digital leaders, like Google, Apple, and those folks. There's a ton of other predictions coming down. Versatility wins over specialization. By 2021, 40% of IT staff will be versatilists, holding multiple roles, most of which will be business rather than technology related. So all these predictions have one thing in common, and that's change. And the only constant really is change. So Srini, a question for you. What are the biggest challenges and opportunities you foresee will face in IT operations in the next 3 to 5 years to enable all that?
Yeah, first I would like to touch on, you mentioned about digital transformation. I think the way I think about it is the business transformation, right? There are new business models coming in. And from a technology standpoint, it's a great time because these are big enablers for the business. Either you're trying to solve an internal problem or an external customers from a SaaS standpoint. So my priorities, I think, Hans kind of gave a good intro into for our cloud, for our SaaS model, our customers, as the demand is growing, right? The first and foremost, which is important for me for 2018 or beyond, is bringing that intelligence, because there are only fewer people, and we got to get the job done. And building that automation, whether it's AI, ML, integrations, using Workato type technologies, bringing that efficiency so that we can deliver that customer value. That's number one. What's equally important is it's not just adding more stuff, right? You have to do cost efficiently. Because in a SaaS model, there's a revenue top line and then there is a cost. So you have to manage that cost efficiently. That's my second goal. And third is, I would say, which is super important because we got some large customers, we have to continue providing that assurance and compliance from a security standpoint. So using AI, ML, automation, and doing more work there to provide that assurance to our customers.
That's great. Any other thoughts from the panel on that?
As we all have to deal with more and more data and more tools, even look at the number of vendors that we have to deal with across the ops, IT ops, and DevOps spaces. While in some places there will be consolidation, with the ease that there is of creating a new startup, there's also a rapid growth in the number of companies. So they're having the ability to look at large amounts of data in an aggregated form is something that Splunk has built its business on, is getting all of the data in one place. And there are other, Elastic Stack also. So that's what makes it easier for one person to do the work of more, not looking at things as silos, but bringing that, having that single view across multiple lenses.
So while we're working really hard to bring the tools and technology to make the job easier, it's still on a lot of people to do that, and that's a lot of stress. How do we humanize the work that we're doing?
I found one interesting thing that some of Splunk customers have started, customers across the valley is starting to measure the stress on the humans in the office. The tools that we use in our office have data about the users in them. How many lines of code did somebody build today? How many incidents came in and that were assigned to someone? What hours are those things coming in? So collecting the data about the things that are human, that the people in the office are doing, and then analyzing it and looking to see, are we treating our humans well? And even sentiment analysis, asking the users at the beginning and the end of the day, did you come into the office happy and did you leave the office happy or not? Is a measurement that will help determine whether that employee is going to stay at your company. Because what's one of those big costs is every employee you bring in, there's a training cost and then bringing them up to speed. And then every time that an employee leaves, you've got to bring that cost in again. So measuring not just the what the people do, but how happy they are while they're doing it and during what hours they're doing it. You look at an agile team, and if your sprint starts on Monday morning, did they happily finish it on Friday at 4 o'clock and they went home and they had beer, or they went to happy hour, or did they finish it on Sunday night at midnight? That's the data is there. So
yeah, that's okay. So Joni, what are the kinds of things y'all are doing at VictorOps to keep people happy?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a very, as Hans and his team know, our company is responsible for waking people up in the middle of the night when you're having software issues. So it's an incredibly human problem. People sleep in separate rooms and their significant others when they're on call and miss, critical key events for their children or for other things because they carry this responsibility. So, we take that job very seriously, and that's where it comes into a lot of continuous improvement that we're building into our product. So we're looking at, the capabilities we provide the capabilities to report on a lot of what you were just talking about. And when are our incidents happening? How often are they happening? When are people getting woken up in the middle of the night? What happens when we get unactionable alarms? And how do we make sure to quiet those so that we aren't having burnout? And so at the core of our system, while we would love to automate all of the things, at least where we are now, is people are in fact involved. And so using the data that we have in our system to make sure that we're able to clean up that noise and give them some peace.
And if y'all, like in the day-to-day side of the operations that you're running, have things that you're doing that are special or unique that keep your folks happy and engaged when they're having to be on call and go through those things. Like your IT ops team, how do you treat your IT ops team in a special way to keep them happy?
Well, I'm just going to take a shot at this. Yeah. The human aspect of what we talk is definitely a big challenge because the complexity you have to deal with is significant right now, and it's getting more and more, right? The one is operating and staying current with the technology stack, right? And in some cases, you're kind of, I don't know if you're competing, but with the AI, ML, right? These are going to be augmenting, right? How do you leverage these probably to balance some of the stuff you guys were talking about, right? That's how I see it. I think I see this as a great opportunity, right? A new way of doing work, and some of them have a clear mindset on following more modern type of the operations, and you have to provide that avenue for training or skill set upgrade. I think it's a collection of all you have to do. I don't think there's one set answer for that.
Okay. Yeah. So a quick question for the audience. Raise your hand if you're in the IT ops kind of side of things. All right, so how many of you guys missed a very important birthday? Any of you? None of you? Wow, things have improved. Okay, yes, all right, well.
Yeah, I think I wanted to comment on that. I think the key thing, and again at Coupa, I've been with Coupa for over 8 years. We were 25 people when I started, and so so the thing is, I've seen the full evolution. As Hans mentioned, we're at scale now, but I think the key things that people value is being able to turn it off, right? Yeah. So that's what we try to support. Make it possible for people to switch it off at some point of time, right? So the information overload is not going to get any better, right? So the key things that we focus on is helping people prioritize, and then giving them the ability to switch it off. And that's why we have things like follow the sun model. We have the different tiers. We have the specialization, the functional teams. All of that is structured around letting people focus in the area that can grow in, but also being able to switch it off at some point of time. And that's what we are looking at whether it's VictorOps or Splunk or all of our vendors. I mean, this is at the end of the day, we are in the spend management business, right? We are not an infrastructure company, and so we're looking at all of our vendors to give us those tools. You know, I know some of the AI and ML tools are not as mature yet, but I think the time is ripe that some of the vendors really went after these and brought in the noise elimination and really bubbled up, did the complex conditions between the different monitoring alerts and really bubbled up the true high-level alerts that are actionable and people can respond to.
Yeah. Okay. Outstanding. I think the last time I was on call was about 10 years ago, and it sucked. It's horrible. All right. So moving on to signal, noise, and fidelity as a topic. You know, we're getting at a level where our ability to compute effectively gets this super low level ability to be very granular. And instead of being very mechanical, we can actually articulate in all sorts of dimensions in what we do. We have tons and tons of data. Hans, you mentioned a petabyte, I think is what you guys are managing. So the amount of data facing engineers is only going to grow, and teams are faced with increased challenge in finding meaningful, actionable data in massive data sets. How is this affecting Coupa, and how are you preparing for this challenge?
Yeah, I think we're continuing to collect the data, and it's across a wide variety of data sets. It's really starting to look for certain types of patterns, right? So we start with some of the basics. We know what things that we want to look for, and start to develop more advanced methods for us to analyze that data set. And eventually, we want to build our own algorithms and models to be able to identify issues that might predict potential issues or problems in advance, right? So a lot of times, or initially, a lot of it is around using it for forensics, identify what happened, but then starting to move more towards, okay, can we start to identify trends and behaviors that'll help us to manage and deliver the service in a better way? So I think in the future, machine learning will help us with that. Artificial intelligence will drive that even further for us.
Yeah. So I mean, everything we're reading is that like it's far enough along. We're at the edge of this big explosion. How well are we applying it? You guys think?
To me or
whoever?
Yeah. I think the way I see right now, definitely there are going to be more tools. I don't know if that is going to be a big challenge. I don't know how you can manage that. But building that capability is kind of important in terms of capturing the data events in a repository and coming up with a self-service type of model relative to the type of analytics you're looking for, right? So for me, the priority is the technology is there to some extent, and I see this as tools to help enable the team. And building that capability is a high priority for me right now, right? Bringing all sets of data into one place. One place doesn't mean that for everything, right? For operational analytics, one, and maybe usage analytics could be something else, or another place, but building that capability is much more important for me.
Okay. I'm sure Tom's got some thoughts on this too. Sorry. Let's hear it.
As a data platform and big data fan, yeah, collecting the data and having the data is the key. I mean, the days of throwing away data, you can't do that. A machine learning algorithm can't learn unless it's got a pool of data to learn from, and then a pool of data that it's tested against to predict to see how well it performs, and then to predict the future. So having the data then lets your systems decide whether this is something whether based on past behavior, something bad is going to happen. We have a customer who says, we can now predict 30 minutes before an item is going to crash. Like, well, okay, we don't want to predict that it's going to crash. Now we're going to remediate automatically when we see those triggers. And we know that based on history. It was the database was running out. There were maybe connections running out. Storage was running out of storage. Something wasn't scaling. So now when you've seen something go bad before and you woke someone up in the middle of the night, now we can automate that and figure out what the remediation, apply the remediation that was done manually to that process automatically the next time. So at least we won't crash the same way twice. We'll come up with a new way of crashing the next time.
Yeah, good point.
I would also add, I think it's going to be really interesting to see in the way that modern applications are built, right? When you've got proliferation of cloud, you've got microservices, you've got CI/CD pipelines, and your code is constantly changing. And the idea that the same thing is going to be in production for very long, such that algorithms will know that that same thing broke, right, is an interesting problem to tackle in the face of, you know, a lot of these technologies getting a lot more robust. So the notion of observability and being able to seek out unknown unknowns in our highly complex applications will be, I think, the next most important thing.
Awesome. So go ahead. Yeah, Sinkat.
So I had a quick thought on that, and I think there's some things which I see possibly within reach still, and this is something that I think we are very big on frameworks. I remember Christian asking us about frameworks, and one of the framework is around monitoring maturity and kind of evolving what Tom was saying, which is there's the data collection, there's the triage and analysis, and then building from there, right? So I think there are some vendors, some software where we are seeing the ability to do trending. Then the next phase is forecasting, and really getting to that holy grail, which is being able to do predictive analysis. And actually the holy grail would be what if analysis, right? So I think it's an evolution, and I think some of those are still possible with the technologies we have. I think what I'm looking for is, and I already know a few companies are focusing on that, so that would be an exciting area to look at, where we are able to kind of evolve along that maturity model.
That's a good step.
One thing is maybe an explainable analytics, right? What happened, how it happened, showing the details, right?
That's great.
I don't know if there's a term, but.
Well, you know, to that end as well, on the frameworks topic, we're familiar with IDLE and COBIT and all these frameworks. Do you guys, what stock do you guys and gal put into IDLE or any of these other frameworks? And where are the frameworks going to go? Are there other frameworks we've not really been talking about yet? I know DevOps is a big word, and but what other kinds of things are out there that you've been like researching or looking at, or where are things going on the framework side?
I think ITIL is really interesting, and I was just, you know, kind of what I was just going on saying is the fact that, you know, we're really moving to this place, at least where humans are owning their code in production. Things are changing so fast, and really it's starting with, you know, the business decides it needs to innovate faster. They invest in a process and tool chain that allows this to happen, but it increases a lot of complexity. So the idea that things are stable long enough or showing up, you know, frequent enough such that like a tier 1 human could know what to do is becoming, I think, a little bit more rare. And so I'm not sure exactly what that framework is, but the trends we see in our customers are things like very much this own your code philosophy, that when you deploy, you know, Hans, you did a nice job saying this, where you're treating your code as infrastructure. And, you know, we have customers that when you deploy, you're programmatically on call for something like an hour for the services that you just worked on, and then it can fall back to some other sort of rotation.
Snapchat.
Yeah, that's a Snapchat case study. So they started with a handful of engineers. They have more than 1,000 engineers on the platform, and they very much have this own your code philosophy. So they've built beautiful systems on the back end that only kind of gives you the ability to change parts of those systems when you are on call, right? So they give you the keys to the kingdom and then revoke them afterwards. But I think that's a really strong model, and we're seeing that take over a lot more frequently on our customer base.
So in the own your own code model, there can be cases where the software dev team does one thing one way, another team does something differently. Are you finding that across companies, they're handling incidents, as an example, all differently, or are they still standardizing on an approach, yet they still have the responsibility for their software, how it runs, and the incidents that manifest as a result of whatever they might do?
It's totally a spectrum. So we do see a lot of NOC modernization happening on our platform as well. There are certain types of businesses that will just the way that they operate will always need that tier 1. But they're leveraging sort of what we'll call frameworks in order to get the right eyes on the problem faster, because at this point the business can afford a lot of lag there.
Sure.
I think there are a couple of things, right? ITIL framework definitely is a very exhaustive guidelines. I think we kind of did it to the max. It definitely doesn't fit to the newer models, but there's a lot of value you can't discount because the compliance aspect, the tracking, the auditing, what happened, those are very important. Probably they take a backseat, but still the experience around the agility to solve a problem, all the aspects. I don't know any framework, but ITIL definitely is, it doesn't directly fit into the newer ways of solving operational support or problem solving.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, ITIL is a 4-letter word, especially for those who have lived through ITIL hell, right? And so I've seen both sides of the story, but I think it's, I think if you look at it as a framework, it's okay. I mean, if you're not really pedantic about it, I think if you looked at it as framework, it's giving you some rails. You can use some concepts like around incident management, change management, as Srini mentioned, service management, problem management. So if you use those general areas as rails, I think I've seen people do well, and I think it's just one of the things that you can have in your arsenal.
Okay. And then,
yeah, I think it's. I think Srini was mentioned. Be selective about it, and I think it's every company is different. And I think as you can look at ITIL, you can look at other frameworks and pick the ones that are suitable for your environment.
yeah. What's funny, you mentioned the big 4 or 5: service desk, incident, problem, change, release. You hear those everywhere. That's about all you really hear, I think, for the most part, at least in my experience. Do you at Coupa, on the incident management side, do you track the cost of an outage to the minute, hour, or how does that look?
No, we're not tracking down to the cost, but we are looking at the number of incidents, the types of incidents, so we can get a better understanding of what we need to invest and focus on. Where are we spending a lot of our time? What's the impact of that incident to the business, to the customer? So again, we don't repeat that. It's part of our philosophy is to prevent that from happening again.
And in your diagram, you drive everything into Jira, your incident, I take it, and that's the incident record. Is that where you're using to aggregate data about the incidents and learn from, or where are you learning?
Yeah, I think, the Jira is used to collect information, but we also take data from our monitoring systems that help us understand the incident. We look at our application logs. There's a variety of data sets that we look at as a whole when we want to analyze the incident and then understand its impact and effect.
Sure. All right, cool. Good. Let's see. Where are we going from here? AI and automation. So as a kid in 5th grade, my teacher told me that I would have a job one day that had no title. And in 5th grade, back in '86, like this had a profound effect on me. It's one of those things that you like think of every other week or so. And it's so like ingrained in your head that it actually kind of shapes the direction that you go. And, in the world that we're in, all this data and all this automation, all these things, work is changing very quickly. There's a study, or maybe it's not a study, but it's a prediction by Gartner, also here, that says AI creates more jobs than it takes. So we're all worried about AI taking away our jobs, right? It's kind of a big topic. Or perhaps AI will squash us like bugs. But it says in 2020, AI will become a positive net job motivator, creating 2.3 jobs while only eliminating 1.8. So if you do the math on that, right, we're adding 500,000 jobs, but 1.8 million, 78%, they're going to have to like change things up. So to the group, share your thoughts and perspectives, especially as this relates to the nature of and change of how we work and what we will work on. Anybody interested in that one?
Yeah, who wants to?
So the retraining aspect is an interesting one. Gartner just did, or I just saw a study that said it's more valuable for a company to retrain their current employees to learn AI than to hire outside AI experts. And at least what I'm learning so far is, boy, it got to brush off the old math skills to understand machine learning and algorithms and curve fitting and such. So math is important. Tell your kids. But I do see that the tools are getting better, that like with products that have built-in algorithms to apply to a problem, to analyze and apply machine learning, the skill level of that's necessary. You don't need to be a data science engineer to apply these things now, because the tools are applying it for you automatically. And that will bring it back to the masses. It will become a flat scale, widely available capability. So somebody who never thought they'd be applying AI in their job will be, and it'll just be something we all do. I mean, we're all using tools that are applying AI behind the scenes, sure, whether it's Alexa or Siri or others. We're interacting with it all day long, every day. So it can be commoditized. It can be made easy for the regular person. So that's
I agree. Just a couple of things I want to add. I don't know about adding jobs, but I agree there will be a different skill set you would need, I think, in the future. There will be fewer routine stuff, what we do, right? We touched on, you're saying around the tier 1 help desk type. I think systems will be doing that part. Automation will be doing that part. And we have to retrain ourselves to the new levels, I think. And I believe even with for the foreseeable AI, ML type, I think that humans are still going to be in control, but humans will be adding a higher level of value into the problem solving or any aspect. But I see that there will definitely be fewer jobs.
You're saying loss?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so that's his prediction. We'll come back in 5 years. Let's see where we are on that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on?
Yeah, we'll come back in 10 years.
10 years. Okay. So more on AI and automation. Part of the topic today is bots. So Gartner, on the kind of the same, this is all just one big document I read. Gartner predicts the following for 2018: bots will take over. I think that's kind of the theme. I think we've already kind of talked about a little bit today in your presentation about bots. By 2021, more than 50% of enterprises will spend more per annum on bots and chatbot creation than traditional mobile app development. And then Sanket, on the press release for the event, you said bots, AI, and automation platforms will transform how IT departments of the future will run. Did you read the same article? No? Can you expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's just along the same lines that I talked before. I think it's I think these technologies are ripe. A lot of them are. I think Tom gave a great example of Alexa, right? I mean, who would have thought that you would have access to voice recognition software that we are embedding in a product now, that without having a big R&D organization, we could get access to voice recognition software and just pay by the hour for it. So I think some of these technologies are within access now, and it's just changing what we can bring to market and how fast we can bring it to market. So I think it just expands the whole area that you talked about.
Okay.
I would say in our experience, it's just the way that people want to work now. So we have ChatOps built into our platform and provide integrations with lots of different chatbots. Mm-hmm. And it's really about meeting humans where they want to do work and making and automating tasks that are just really simple, right? Yeah. And we've seen that take off a lot. And it's funny, like even the analysts are really on it. So if the analysts think this is happening, then it's definitely going to be ubiquitous in no time.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get to our demo at some point, but it's been very pervasive for us here at Coupa. In the last 6 months, We've deployed a number of bots that have taken over responsibility for, again, very mundane things. Maybe just looking for a certain type of email from a vendor on a maintenance notification and opening a ticket so that we can action that, or how we actually provision user accounts. So or put together customer communication. Things that took somebody a long time to actually process and accomplish now can be done with a bot in a matter of minutes, allowing the engineer to work on more valuable, meaningful tasks.
Tom wants to chime in.
What's amazing to me is that it took us so long to get to this point where doing repeated actions again and again and again was considered normal and okay, and that now we have the tools that we can automate just about anything, whether it's buy me something when this item comes available on eBay, buy it for me automatically because I'm going to want it. So I mean, so good time that we're in now, crazy time before.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. Let's see here. I was thinking about going back to the audience for some questions, but okay, not quite yet. Okay, so this morning I flew in from Orlando. Yesterday and the day before, I attended the Pink Elephant conference. Pink Elephant's very much an IT service management conference. For those of you that don't know, I did an informal poll just to kind of get a sense of what is on people's minds. Like, what are they worrying about? What are the things that they're investing into? What are the capabilities that are going to help them progress further? The standout thing was automation and integration, both standalone scripts as well as automation platform type stuff. Machine learning, self-service for some reason was way up there, which I think is a very popular thing as well. Process, just like the blocking and tackling of what we do in IT ops. Infrastructure management, local, cloud, and hybrid, and then communication. So those are the top 5 or 6 topics that people shared with me. On the automation integration side, Hans, we got to catch up a little bit before, and I asked you about taking the automated steps to heal and self-recover. And you make some good points, Joni, around like, it's gonna be changing so fast. Like, what is it you're building to actually go and automate? But what are your immediate plans on building more to self-automate and self-heal and self-remediate?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely in our direction. We already have existing in the environment some basic mechanisms that are monitoring processes and such and auto healing or fixing those. We want to introduce more complex solutions, but we have to walk into it fairly somewhat carefully and not just kind of go in it without having tested it and having confidence. I think that's the biggest concern for me is we introduce something that we think is helping, but actually it's going to introduce another set of challenges and problems for us.
Sure. Okay. And Sankit, more for you on the infrastructure management, local, cloud, and hybrid. You got some ideas and things to share there. I think this is kind of near and dear to you.
Yeah, I think so that's an interesting area, and again we have done quite a bit. The way, I think, to me, one of the biggest things that we took very early on, about 9 years ago, a decision we took architecturally was to be cloud agnostic and multi-cloud. And we pretty much started out on the cloud and grew on the cloud. We almost completely on Amazon, but now we have grown across multiple clouds. And so what's that? And so obviously, how do we manage these clouds? And we have used different sets of tools, some which we have purchased, some which we have rolled our own to do that. So I think it varies by company, I think, how they approach that. For some companies, they can go all in one cloud provider, especially if you are not an enterprise software company and your customers are not demanding specific compliance requirements or specific things that are dear to them about certain service providers. And so that's how we looked at it. That was our lens on it, that at some point of time, there will be an even playing field between multiple providers, and how do we build a platform to be to support that when the time comes.
Sure. Okay.
I just want to agree with Sankit. Just one thing I want to add is, you as an organization may start off with one cloud, but through acquisitions or other events, you got to end up in multiple clouds.
True. And then I'm sure Coupa being, I think, big and international, are you facing like data residency requirements and things of that nature?
Yeah, it's I think we were counting, and we have about 7 compliance regimes that so we have the whole gamut: SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, ISOs, PCIs, HIPAA. So we do have all the compliance, GDPR, yeah, exactly. So I mean, just it's par for the course in the enterprise software business. That we do have all of those requirements of us, and having the options with the multiple clouds helps you sometimes in some of those areas.
Sure. Okay. Great. So let's see here. I think we can go on to the questions from the audience now. So we've got a lot of votes on one question, but it's largely, I think, been covered. So sorry, those of you in Singapore, I'm going to skip this one. It was about ML and AI and IT ops. I think we covered that one. So one with a lot of votes is this is from Ku Chun, looks like. How do we help smaller companies? Oh, I just shifted them. Okay, there we go. It just moved. How do we help smaller companies get on the digital transformation and intelligent automation journey? I think we stumped the panel? Joni's going to save us.
I think you're in the best position. You know, if you're a smaller company and let's pretend your revenues are sort of aligned with your size, right? You're sort of de-risked a little bit in making some of these choices that you should be thinking about right now in terms of the different DevOps tooling we've talked about today. Cloud infrastructure, microservices, your CI/CD pipeline. I encourage you, maybe go to DevOps days in your city and learn a little bit more about what leading companies are doing, and bite the bullet and get started.
Just do it, right?
Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes we get worried about, am I making the right decision for me 2 years from now or 5 years from now? And then you can't know, and then you have to not do anything. So, okay.
It's also the college kids are coming out with so much more knowledge than I had when I came out of college. So a lot of it is retrain the older people and hire the younger people because they already come out. They don't have the old war stories that are tying them to the ways of the past. They're open to the cloud. In fact, during college, they've already got an Amazon account. They've already got their year free of access. They've already deployed an application in the cloud. It's like, wow, I was writing Pascal back when I was in college. And I had to do it on a system that was on the other end of a green screen. So, it's a whole different age.
Well, you kind of covered this next question. Does the panel see challenges in recruiting and retaining people for IT ops? Is this a career that millennials relate to? So kind of a little inverse of your...
Yeah, I think just on the previous question, I agree with what Joni is saying, which is I was stumped a little bit because I was thinking, why not? Why would a smaller company not be able to move fast? Because it's all out there. Whether that's open source or commercial tools, and it's not very expensive to get started. So I think maybe what the questioner might want to know where to get started. And
right.
So definitely there's a whole community around us that some of you guys mentioned that just go get started in any area. And typically the way I look at it is I always look at where the biggest time sinks are, and I focus all my effort and resources on that. So I think that's find very well biggest time sinks and focus on that. And then around the IT ops, hiring and retention, I think it's a very unique site reliability engineering is a very unique skill set. So what you're essentially looking for is a combination of a software engineer who has a infrastructure mindset. And that is very challenging. And so at Coupa, we have experimented with both. So Hans here, he leads our site reliability engineering team. I also have a cloud engineering team, which is an infrastructure engineering team. And so we have people who came from a system administration, system engineering background, who are learning the coding and automation skills. And we also have the traditional software engineers who have a passion for infrastructure. And I think it's something that we're looking for the traditional universities to invest more in. I haven't seen too many universities have a curriculum for site reliability engineering or DevOps, and I think it's come far along enough. There's enough patterns there, enough material there. Absolutely, and the online courses are a hit or miss. So I think it's time that there's more investment around professional training in this areas.
I agree with Saket, all what you said, and the challenge is going to be the infrastructure, but thinking like a software, right? Mindset.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is it's a new personality trait in the world of SRE. In IT ops, in the olden days, it was like, I want to see a green light or I want to see a red light, just tell me if it's broken and whatever. And this SRE mentality is it's curious and it's seeking opportunities for improvement, and it's wanting to, maybe the light's green, but I want to know how green it is and why it's green today versus a day before. And so both that personality trait and then, like you're talking about, this systems approach, I think, and I don't know if that just comes with maturity or in time on the job, but you get a lot of folks out of Code Academy that aren't really understanding like the full system approach that you need to be thinking about to be strong in SRE. So.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think in SRE, it is an innate, a unique skill set. You mentioned curiosity, right? There's lots of abstraction layers, so they need to understand what's happening below that abstraction layer to be able to really kind of solve and support this environment.
Okay. Just a quick show of hands. Anybody have a question in the audience here locally? Okay, we have a couple. All right, let's do this. Drop my phone. All right, make sure you tell us your name and go and ask a question.
Sure. My name is Basan Malinov. Basically, I work for a company that does provide the platform for integrations. So my question relates to the integration itself of cloud-based systems. So it's more question for Coupa, like when you guys make a decision in terms of to use the iPaaS platform or not to use it, or just build a straight up integration into, like I could use an example of NetSuite and Coupa integration. I think you guys have a built integration directly that communicates directly with NetSuite, bypassing the platform. What goes into that decision-making process to use iPaaS or not to use iPaaS?
Use or not use? Like an integration platform as a service. Okay, thanks. I think that's an interesting question. And so Coupa, because we do spend management, we are a strategic extension to almost every ERP out there. So we integrate with every ERP. And I would say we do the whole spectrum. So essentially, we have clients where they do the traditional flat file integrations, dropping out of the SFTP. So they could be using some middleware, TEPCO or something like that on their side, and we are consuming on our side. We have every integration platform provider as a partner, and we have integrations with them. So I think it probably comes down to the business use case of the customer. And usually it comes down to existing relationships, what they're comfortable with and what they have existing integrations with. So I don't think there's a specific silver bullet out there.
Great, thanks. I think there's one more, right? Yeah.
Did I answer your question? So just to repeat what he said is his takeaway was that for integration platform as a service, it's having strategic partnerships with ERPs would help. I would probably agree. I would also say having it boils down. So we don't mandate what our customers use. And so for them, it's also having the strategic partnership with the customer themselves, with the business.
My name is Rahul. I lead part of the SDN group at VMware. Just looking at the type of changes you've seen in the industry going forward, especially you've actually seen the transition this time, and we have talked about future people coming in and how to hire them. How do you see the change or the proliferation of compute outside of the cloud changing the type of environment we are going to be in or the type of skills we need? And I'm talking about things that you can get a t-shirt now with an IoT endpoint, and you can take your layers for taking on the IoT theme, going towards homes and having a management layer where things and decisions are made completely outside of the cloud and yet depend on the cloud for some sort of security, resiliency, privacy, and so forth.
So the question is, I'm sorry, the last part. So you're saying the computing is not just happening in the cloud, it's also happening outside. And I didn't get the last part, sorry.
Exactly. So that's, and how is that going to, transform the next layer of what we are looking at? Right? We have talked a lot about how the, ML and AI and so forth are now changing things. And now, and a lot of what we have talked about is, Coupa started off at Amazon and now they slowly moved on. But I see the public cloud also moving away, going towards a different place where decisions are going to be made.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I understand, one of our solutions, right, what we have is for our collaboration, there could be an appliance running at a customer site. That to us is an IoT device. It has a lot of events. I don't know exactly I'm answering your question, but there are a lot of events being captured there. You have to provide all aspects of it relative to bringing that data set, correlating back to the cloud relative to other events happening. In our case, I'm just saying, and we use multi-cloud too in our scenario, right? We use Azure as well as Amazon. And it's quite challenging actually getting that. And sometimes it's in a very protected network, but you're trying to start analyzing the data. So we're going through that journey. In our solution, we have it, and we do collect, we kind of correlate back in the cloud. And there are some hard compliance requirements, so we come up with alternative approaches.
Yeah, I think just picking on what you said about IoT, I think that's coming, right? There is going to be more feature and functions on the IoTs and more proliferation from them. What I haven't quite seen yet is a lot of the compute happening on the edges. So most of the IoTs are really sensors and doing very basic processing and then sending the data collection back to the cloud for processing, right? That's where it is right now. But definitely, I think I feel like the IoTs are very early in the evolution where they're delivering product functionality. But if you look at it from really an infrastructure operations lens, I think they're very low on their maturity, right? It's like having the old appliances out there which weren't fully functional. So I think, and that's why you keep hearing about these firmware vulnerabilities and security issues and the IoTs crashing and things like that. So I think there's still an evolution phase where the IoTs really firm up on the operating systems, for lack of a better word. And I think when they get to that point, then there's an evolution from there where probably compute could be pushed out, and that I see that as a cycle, that with the compute pushed out, there can be more edge processing, and then we can actually start seeing proliferation of I would say the next set of features. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Good question. Yeah, good question. Okay, so I think we're going to stop there on questions from the panel and get some time back to Hans for his demo. One last question in one word, starting with you. Characterize the future of IT ops.
So I don't, I'm trying to think. So I think in one word, if it's just one word,
sure.
I would, I would say is exciting for years to come, all one word.
Okay, that's
So-
good. Hyphenated. Exciting hyphen for all.
And mine's easy. Data.
Data. All right.
I guess excellence on all of that.
Excellence.
Change.
For me, it's opportunity.
Awesome. All right, great. Good job, y'all. Round of applause for the panel. Thank you.